Let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Sedalia City Council to order. We'll open with legislative prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Matthew, you have the floor to lead us in prayer.
Would you please stand as able and join me in our invocation this evening? Dear Lord and Father of us all, we come to you this evening to ask your guidance as the City Council of Sedalia, mayor, administrators, staff, members meet to hear about, discuss, and make decisions for the betterment of our city and its peoples. We are grateful for their service and dedication to our community. We ask your protection for all of our first responders, city, county, and state, who work 24/7 to serve and protect us, and often at their own peril. We are grateful for the United States of America, our constitutional republic, for which so many thousands have fought and died to create and preserve for these 247 years. Please bless and protect all of our military and civilians serving our great country today, here and throughout the world, protecting our way of life from threats from without, and more sadly, threats from within. And now as we leave tonight, please protect us and our loved ones. Keep us from harm until we meet again. And all this is prayed in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Bogus.
Here.
Hiller.
Here.
Cross. Here. Foster.
Here.
Bliss.
Here. First item on our agenda is approval of the previous session minutes dated October 7th, 2024. This is a regular council meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve in a second. Do I have any amendments or changes to the minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll call for the approval of the special council meeting minutes dated October 14th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and I have a second. Do I have any council changes or discussion regarding the minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the reports of special boards, commissions, and committees. We have the acceptance of the Traffic Advisory Commission meeting minutes dated September 11th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion regarding the minutes? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we have the roll call of our standing committees. Up first is Finance Administration. Chairwoman Bogus, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Tonight we have two items. The first item being a presentation from the Bothwell Regional Health Center.
Hello, I'm Lori Whiteman. I'm proud to be the CEO at Bothwell. And tonight, our report tonight will fulfill our requirement to give you an annual report. I am now going to turn it over to Steve, who's going to talk about our audited financials for last fiscal year.
Thank you all for having us. My name is Steve Davis. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Bothwell. So we'll just kind of go through this fairly quickly. So Bothwell last year, you can see at the very top, you wonder, okay, so how many admissions per clinic visit do we have? So for every 50 people, that 51 almost, that comes to our clinics, one admission happens for every 51. How many unique patients do we see? A unique patient? Every single one of us in here is a unique patient. So it goes by your medical record number. Last year we saw 51,446 unique individuals. Clinic visits, you can see right there, was 147,000. ED visits, just under 24. Surgeries, 3,105. In our foundation, we've got $125,000 for us to purchase different equipment and things like that for the hospital. Some training also. And then when you look at this one, it's a very busy slide, but you'll see the blue box there. That is our fiscal year 2024. When you compare it to 2023, if we look down at the numbers there for earnings before depreciation and amortization, you'll see there was a bunch of red numbers to the right, all the way from 2019 to 2023. And last year, we were able to have a positive EBITDA for the first time in those 6 years, basically. And the big reasons for that, was about an $8.5 million swing. The biggest reasons for that is we qualified for 340B, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, of what 340B actually is. And it's going to be a theme this year going forward as well. So $4.3 million of that turnaround was 340B related. The other part of it is if you go down and you see our expenses, more changes in expenses here, we were able to save on our contract labor almost $1.7 million, so we're able to hire and keep more, and that's a big turnaround. And then also, the third largest thing was our change in our health insurance and the way we do that, and we were able to save $1.2 million there. So that's the biggest change that we had in operations. Now, when you look at the total net margin, we still had a loss of $1.4 million compared to the $6.1 million from a year ago. And that is due to, in large part, there was a decrease in federal funds that we received from FEMA and COVID-related at $3.5 million. So that was the biggest change in the non-operating question. When we go to the next slide here, it kind of gives you an update where we're at as far as benchmarks go. So these are benchmarks that we attained from Elevate, formerly known as Quorum, and it talks about if your hospital is stressed, stable, or strong. And there's the different categories that you have there. So you can see as far as days cash, we are stressed. And that's been that way for a long time, all except for during COVID when they gave us the accelerated payments. Average age of plant, we have not been able to invest in our plant, so anything over 12 years. Our average age of plant is actually 21, but you consider our main building was built in 1930. We do live, and our hospital is an old hospital as far as the building, which is the majority of your capital is bricks and mortar. So that's the majority. But when you look at debt, when you go down there, we are actually in the green because our long-term debt as a percent of net patient revenue and a percent of total assets, you can see that we're 13.2% on the one, and as far as net revenue, it's only 6.9. So we are very, very minimal debt. Debt service coverage, we can see that we are in the stable zone there. And then EBITDA, we're still stressed because that was what we were showing on this particular one where we did have a profit. It is a positive EBITDA of 2.3. So for the last year. Our lack of debt is one of the best assets that we have going for us as the health facility. Any questions on that? If not, we talked about 340B, and I know this is a very big topic. 340B was a program that was put in place, I believe, in 1992 for rural and hospitals that serve under, I guess, financially vulnerable population. So, you know, if depending on your Medicaid population, that's how you qualify. You have to have over 8%. Now, what's made the difference? We were one of only 5 hospitals in the state that had not qualified for 340B. And there's several reasons for that. One is we have an aging population, and 2, that's based off your Medicaid and your SSI percentage that is added together. Now, Medicaid expansion helped us gain a lot more Medicaid patients. Closing the 3rd floor actually helped us because what it did was it closed and it took down the numerator of what was mostly Medicare patients that were staying there, and it led us to qualify for that last year for the first time. You had to be at over 8%. We were actually at 11.9. You have to re-qualify every year, and last week it was in the last week. We do qualify again. We were at 12.1, so increase that over last year. So we get to qualify for this again. But what it is, it's the federal government's way of saying, okay, here's your inpatient population, but we extrapolate this to your outpatient book of business, and your savings is based off of how much you get to save on drugs. That was the biggest part of our savings from last year. When you look at what we've done for the year last year, it was 4.2 million, but October 1st is when we started qualifying for 340B. For the first year, we saved $7.2 million in the first year of 340B. So that's the big reason for our turnaround, of which that's only with our employee policy being eligible since January 1st. So those savings will go up until that time as well. Now, also this year, since I know the mayor went and testified to the House, I know I went and testified to the Senate as far as Senate Bill 751 to mimic laws that were written in Arizona or Arkansas and Louisiana, to mimic them and to say, you know, HRSA was not controlling Big Pharma. Big Pharma was saying you can only pick one pharmacy. So with this passage, or with the Senate 751 passing, it allows us to use every single pharmacy. And then we can contract with those pharmacies, and it's an additional revenue source for us. September was the first month that was a full month, so we have just a little bit of a taste, so we can kind of estimate what that's going to be worth for us. But we anticipate that to be worth for us, as far as revenue, an extra $6 million a year. Now, there's also expenses that go with it, so estimated on that is about $3 million, and so our net will be possibly $3 million based off the first month and of actual invoices that have come in from those. So the way that works is we have to pay the pharmacy prices up front, and then they pay us. There's about a 2-month lag there as far as getting all the information in, but we think that's going to be extremely valuable for us going forward. So, any questions? Oh, yeah. Oh, I do have one more slide, sorry. Sorry, I did have one more slide, and this is just kind of giving you a graphic of where we were since 2019. When you look at what our operations were, and then with the switch in 340B, the 1.7 is what we had lost a year ago through this time, and the 1.4 is just what was through 2024. So when you look at that on our EBITDA, those are huge, huge numbers for us. So that's the big difference. This did not even reflect the revenue at this point. So, okay. Thank you all.
Okay, now I'm just going to wrap it up here and tell you what's going on at Bothwell. We are working on improving our patient experience. Our goal is to be a 5-star hospital as measured by CMS. And we're improving the patient experience by engaging our employees. This initiative is frontline led and supported by management, and it's already showing results. We were around 2 stars on many of the different aspects of patient experience, and there's many that have already grown to 4 stars. So we're very excited about that, and it just reiterates, if you move work closest to the, in our case, the bedside, the more effective it is. Let's see, we are working on many different fronts on growing our own in terms of recruitment. We have a nurse's aid to RN program where we support people as they go to school, and mostly at State Fair. We have a nursing intern and a nursing residency program to support those that are still in school or just have graduated. We partner with State Fair with surgical scrub techs and also our physician residency program that I'll talk about in a minute. Also, Steve and Lisa just got back from receiving a national award for our health insurance plan for our employees. It's called the Rosie Award, and we received it because of the plan design that we had that not only saved the organization money, but also every single covered person of our health insurance plan. So I don't know of too many people I've heard that said they are spending less on their health insurance. And we were one of those, and we have high satisfaction ratings with our employees and their health benefits. Let's see, we continue to be the only rural family medicine residency program in the state, and our 3-year program is now full, and our first class will graduate or finish their residency this next summer. So we now have our 6 residents. We also have dipped our toe in the water in terms of population health. And we are working to lower the overall cost of health care for Medicare and Medicaid patients through the Accountable Care Organization that we're involved in with Medicare, as well as with the TORCH program. We are one of 6 pilots in the state that is working with the state to lower the overall cost of Medicaid. And we are working with generous donors to remodel, refresh our patient rooms that haven't been done in 20-some years, and also add a hospice room, taking 3 rooms, making it 1, having space for family members as well as a dog bed in our hospice room. See, we are just loving our CAP students that we have from Smith Cotton, and we have 35 students that are exploring different healthcare careers, and it's just really fun to have them around, and they are literally in every corner of our hospital and clinics. We also love the Airstream Rally, as they raised $29,000 for our foundation. They sponsored a remodel of a room, also sponsored some cancer programs, as well as pediatric patient things. And so I liked them so much, I think there's an Airstream in my future. Let's see. Also, you know, as the largest employer within the city limits, we believe it's important to be visible and involved in the community that we serve. So this is just a few examples of the more than 40 community events that we supported this last fiscal year. We also run health fairs with different types of screenings, working with employers for what they're looking for in their health fairs. We have grown and expanded our specialties and added new providers. Who would have thought we'd have a dermatologist well, it's been a long time, I will put it that way. We used to have a dermatologist, and it's nice to have Dr. Dallow. He joined Dr. Berry, our neurologist, in our new clinic, which is where Dr. Van Dyke used to practice out of. We bought that. We've also added Dr. Losant, who's family medicine with a sports medicine fellowship, Dr. Raspukoff, family medicine with osteopathic therapies that he does, and Dr. Fairchild, who is a rock star in our Warsaw clinic. We added several mid-levels, Liz Kessler in ear, nose, and throat. We added our second nurse midwife, 2 nurse practitioners in our walk-in clinic, another nurse practitioner in Warsaw, and a new one that is not pictured, nurse practitioner in Colcan. And then under operational excellence, as we approached this year's budget, we wanted to accomplish 4 different things, and we were just beginning to be in a position where we could have budget goals. One, we wanted to invest in our future and build up days cash on hand to be in a better position because we probably have a partial replacement hospital sometime in our future, and it's certainly on our master facility plan. but we have to be, we have to have far more days cash on hand to be able to be in that position. We also wanted to invest in our people. We had fallen behind in terms of being competitive with the market, and we made some progress on that. We also wanted to invest in our 94-year-old infrastructure, which I always kid is that building's held together with baling wire and duct tape, but our maintenance, our facilities guys are fabulous, and they have really done a good job holding that infrastructure together. And we also wanted to invest in growth, and this year was the purchase of Dr. Van Dyke's building, so that we could expand and add dermatology and move neurology into that clinic as well. We also have spent some time, and I'm hoping it comes to conclusion tomorrow night at our board meeting. It had been over 20 years since we revisited our mission and vision. A lot has happened in healthcare in the last 20-some years, and we also wanted to uncover our values. So that work has been going on through the summer and now the fall, and I think we're coalescing around being able to really articulate why we exist, what we want to become, and what we hold as core values. This will help inform our next strategic plan. Our current one ends in May next year, and so we will be starting that 3-year strategic planning process this winter. And that's all of the prepared I have. What questions do you have?
Does the council have any questions for the representatives from Bothwell?
You moved PCPs into one location earlier this year, and there are several families and individuals who are extremely appreciative of that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice to have them
All in one spot,
in
yeah.
one building, yeah. OB hated to move from that building, but they like their new home.
Good.
With your nursing program, will the Bothwell pay for a student's schooling cost if they sign a contract with Bothwell?
Yes, we do it in a couple different ways. We pay the difference if they qualify for the A+. We pay the difference of what additional tuition is owed. We also have some students where their tuition is being paid, and then we provide a stipend for their living expenses. We do
What
both
about
ways.
doctors? Anything for doctors too?
We, well, for example, we have a fairly, local boy who is right now in ear, nose, and throat residency, and we're paying every month a stipend with his promise that he will show up when he's done with his residency and be here for 3 years.
I see, that's good.
Mm-hmm. You gotta, I mean, we're thinking even maybe high school students, we're gonna have to start putting our grips on them, so they'll choose us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second item tonight from the Finance and Administrative Committee is Ms. Jessica Pyle with our finance update.
So we're looking at fiscal year to date through sales for August. And the second set of numbers is what I'll be referencing in the fiscal year to date. So net sales and use tax, including marijuana sales tax, is up almost $760,000 fiscal year to date, or 7.1%. And if you remember, we budgeted 4%, so we are over budget, and we are over by over $330,000 fiscal year to date. The marijuana tax was the 3% additional sales tax that started at the stores in August at the cash register, and those receipts we started receiving in about January. So we'll have a comparison come January with that figure. The franchise tax is down significantly, primarily due to the charter settlement on the streaming video class action settlement that we received in April of 2023 of almost $380,000. So the additional $130,000 that we are lower is primarily due to a decrease in gas tax, which is down 42% fiscal year to date. And transportation taxes are higher fiscal year to date due to multiple factors. Gas tax is higher, 8.2% fiscal year to date. Vehicle sales is higher, 8.3% fiscal year to date. And vehicle fees are up 0.8% fiscal year to date. And then property tax payments, we have collected some more fiscal year to date than we did last year, but the majority of these come in December and January. Any questions?
Any questions, council? Thank you, Director Powell.
Thank you, Jessica. And that concludes our report.
All right, Chairwoman, thank you, Chairwoman Bogus. Up next, we have Public Works. Chairman Hiller, you have the floor.
There are two items tonight for consideration. First one in connection with the new indoor arena that the State Fair is building. There's a need to extend the sewer line to this facility. The extension will be from the fairgrounds along Clarendon across the Katy Trail to near Southwest Boulevard. In order to facilitate this construction, easements or license agreements are needed to grant access across the Katy Trail. Our staff has negotiated terms of such agreement and recommends its approval.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance authorizing the license agreement.
Bill number 2024-195, an ordinance authorizing a sanitary sewer line license agreement.
Second reading?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this ordinance. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-195, an ordinance authorizing a sanitary sewer line license agreement.
Final passage?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
All in favor.
Bill passes.
Next, we got the Citizens Traffic Advisory Commission received a request to establish a three-way stop sign on West 10th Street and Mitchell Road. The commission voted to recommend approval to council. Currently, there is a stop sign at the end of Mitchell where it makes a T intersection with 10th Street. The traffic on 10th is not required to stop at this time.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance establishing the three-way stop.
Bill number 2024-196, an ordinance establishing a three-way stop sign on West 10th Street at the intersection of Mitchell Road.
Second reading?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding it? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-196, an ordinance establishing a three-way stop sign on West 10th Street at the intersection of Mitchell Road.
Final passage?
Second?
I have a motion and a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
All in favor.
The bill passes.
That's all I had, sir.
All right, thank you, Chairman Hiller. Up next, we have Community Development. Chairwoman Foster, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I just have one item this evening. It is a fee schedule amendment. In reviewing the state statutes and city codes regarding the formation of a plumbing board and the process to issue plumbing certificates, we noticed that the state statutes prescribe specific fees for such certificates. Staff recommends setting the city code at the amounts called for by the state at $5 annually for a master plumber certificate and $1 annually for a journeyman plumber certificate.
All right, call for the reading of the ordinance amending the fees for plumbing certificates.
Bill number 2024-197, an ordinance amending fees for plumbing certificates.
Second reading?
Second.
I have a motion, a second for the second reading of this bill. Do I have any council discussion regarding the bill? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Bill number 2024-197, an ordinance amending fees for plumbing certificates.
Final passage?
Second.
I have a motion, a second for the final passage of this bill. Do I have any council discussion? Having heard none, roll call, please.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, up next, we have Public Safety. Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Public Safety Committee met today and had a discussion about the SAFER grant. Want to ask the chief to come up here, and he can give you a better overview of what we discussed.
Good evening, guys. I apologize to be the bearer of bad news. A couple years ago, we, as part of the strategic plan, started talking about third stations and 2 squads and adding staff to fill those squads. Earlier this year, we applied for a SAFER grant as part of my strategic plan for those 6 personnel to fill the role of the squad that was coming, or the 2 squads that were coming. Unfortunately, we were notified that although that we scored very high with our SAFER grant, we did not score high enough to meet funding. So basically, the way it works is we applied, we got graded twice, or a third time, and then basically they award funding down to until they run out. And unfortunately, we did not score high enough to reach the funding level. So, as you recall in April when we were doing, or just before April when we were doing budgets and everything in our strategic plan, we budgeted for 6 personnel. We budgeted for those expenditures. What we also did is also budgeted for the revenues for the SAFER grant. That SAFER grant would have paid for those 6 firefighters for the next 3 years. Fortunately, we were not awarded that grant. But I still need 6 firefighters. And that is kind of why I'm here this evening. I have a squad that is coming. I can tell you that the first squad is already here and it is operating. In the last 60 days, it's ran 145 calls for service, which is almost 25% of the call volume for the central fire station. Basically, it's 145 calls that engine did not have to respond on. We are looking at having both squads in service with these 6 people. We're estimating about a 60% call volume loss to the engine. So basically, they pick up 60% of all the calls from the engines. So I am here asking if I can hire 6 people. Any questions for me? I got a whole bunch of other stuff, numbers if you want to hear them, but basically what it boils down to is we didn't get a SAFER grant, feds aren't going to pay for it. We need to hire 6 people, and we need to figure out a long-term way to pay for it.
Even though we were turned down on the grant, can we put in for it again, or?
We can. The problem is that I needed the 6 personnel a while back to get them trained, get them where we can use them for the squads and on the engines. The problem is that the SAFER grant won't come open again until December, January, and we will not know again until October of next year whether or not that grant was awarded or not. So we've got squads and equipment here that we're not going to be able to use if we wait out the SAFER grant again. And unfortunately, you can't hire an employee and then use the SAFER grant to pay for that.
And it takes a bit of time to get them trained as well,
It
right?
does.
It's not like we can just hire somebody and they can go tomorrow. So
That
we
is
need to be
correct.
prepared for 2 squads
That is
to be
correct.
usable, right? Okay.
When the chief says squads, he means trucks.
Yes.
Squad trucks.
Those new
We
awesome
have a
full
truck that's going to be here in 2 months.
Right.
It takes 6 months to train the people, correct?
Takes 6 months to train.
There's no objection from me. We ranked it high in strategic planning, and we rank based off of importance and necessity, not whether something's grant dependent. So there's no objection from me.
Public Safety recommended that we do that. Depending on the money, what the money people thought. We don't have access to that.
We had a pretty elaborate discussion in our meeting, and I think I know we all said we favored it. Going ahead and hiring the people.
So having heard no objections, we'll go ahead and move forward on the course that we've plotted. So, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Chairman Robinson. In other business, we have liquor licenses. Call for the reading of the liquor licenses.
We have 2 new licenses and 1 renewal tonight. New license for Christy Long, doing business as Wildlife Ridge Winery at 34751 Miller Road in Smithton, Missouri, for the Central Bank Christmas Party at the Foundry, 342 West 2nd, special event license. And then Stacy Barnes, doing business as Wham KWBT LLC at 301 East Main Street in Colcamp, for the Jammin' Nuggets Witches Night Out, 115 South Ohio. It's a special event license. And then a renewal for Paul Bykirk, doing business as County Distributing at 1800 Eagle View Drive for wholesale beer.
Motion to approve in block?
Second.
I have a motion to approve in block and a second. Do you have any council discussion regarding the liquor licenses? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to any miscellaneous items from the city council or city administrator.
I have gotten a few phone calls, Mayor, in regards to Barrett and Beacon Street over by Huber Hunt School. The report is that the traffic that's going up and down those two roads at the time that the children are getting out of school or going into school, they're speeding. And so I think we need to monitor that, see what needs to be done or what we should be doing to make sure of the safety of the children that are attending that particular school in that area. I know one morning I went by and I'm like, they can't be doing the speed limit. It's just, they're too fast, so.
Okay, very good. Anyone else?
I've got something if nobody else does. I want to respond to the article in the Democrat on the 11th of October that involved the Pettis County Commission. And just kind of say the other side of it. Basically, they said that we sued them, we generated all the funds. But this started with the county commission taking a position that the county did not need to follow normal permitting procedures inside the city limits. The city said the county did have to follow normal permitting procedures, so we disagreed. The city council was presented with options by legal, one of which was to do nothing. I opposed that. Another one was for a declaratory judgment through the court system. A declaratory judgment is no finding of fault, no damages, just a civil tool that governing bodies can use to settle a dispute, similar to arbitration. When we were presented with several cases already settled in civil court, including one involving St. Charles County versus the City of St. Charles in the Missouri 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, that found that the county did have to follow permitting requirements of the city, as I told the commissioners on the 11th of the same day this article came out in the paper, that I felt sure they would consider this, understand this is civil law and it's based on precedent, and of course we had precedent all the way up to the appellate court level, and say in this particular case the city is right and move on. No need to waste any money on this, but they continue to this day to blame the city for the legal expenses. The county delayed the process, filed for continuance, failed to appear, and when the summary judgment was submitted by the judge, they hired a new lawyer and continued to fight. When the final judgment was finally reached, everyone, the county, the city, and the judge agreed that the civil case cited by the city in the beginning was good law. She also was convinced the withholding of the road and bridge tax money was retaliatory. And as a result of our decision to do something instead of nothing, the city did get access to the county jail to train and prepare in case of fire, and the county did participate in the 10-year annual structural inspection process. That alone is enough for me to say the money was well spent. This was a fight worth fighting. People are safer, and that's a primary responsibility that I take seriously. The problem is the county's personal reaction to being sued to date. The commission has withheld over $500,000 in road and bridge tax funds from the city, and that disagreement, if not settled, will result in January of $730,400 being withheld. That's a significant amount of money and has a significant increase or impact on our budgeting and process. And I said last time, or maybe 2 times ago, can have a negative effect on our ability to borrow. The road and bridge tax was initiated in 2000 by a cooperative effort by the city and the county. The tax is a half-cent sales tax, and it has a sunset provision that requires a continuation vote every 5 years. It's coming up this April. I think the fact that the commissioners are punishing their own constituents that live inside the city limits of Sedalia needs to be solved before the commissioners can count on our vote in the upcoming April election to renew the sales tax. I doubt the tax will be renewed without the support of the county residents that live inside the city limits of Sedalia. I can't support, and I'm speaking for myself, and I'm going to go tell them the same thing again soon, I can't support the renewal of the half-cent road and bridge tax until the proceeds are more evenly distributed and updated annually, Currently, when that tax was passed in 2000, it generated about $1.9 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Last year, it generated $4 million. And yet, we've received the same amount of money for over 20 years, as have all the other cities and villages in Pettis County. It hasn't, the value that's been distributed has not gone up, but the tax has doubled in the amount of revenue that it generates. So the proceeds need to be more evenly distributed and updated annually. The funds held in retaliation to the declaratory judgment, the judge's words, not mine, are returned to the city, and the ballot language for the half-cent sales tax renewal, if they do put it on the ballot in April, and I can't see any way that they can't, is such that it is precise concerning how the revenue from the tax will be allocated and distributed. The commission would lead you to believe the appropriation the city submitted, the application, quote-unquote, the application the city submitted was confusing and not complete. I'll be here Wednesday. It takes too much tonight to discuss that, but I'll be here Wednesday at noon with the application, and I'll go over all of it with anyone interested in seeing it. I hope that, and I'm going to invite the three commissioners to come and do that, too. If they want to be here, they can. The commission would have you believe they're only doing this to track tax dollars. I have no problem with that. We should track those tax dollars and keep track of them. Sedalia has always kept documentation of work supported by state and federal and local funding, and will continue to do that. Basically, this is a fight I'm willing to fight for all of Sedalia and all the residents of Pettis County. It's my job, and I'm glad to do it. And I've got to get along with the commission in the long run to get this done. But the commission is welcome to have a disagreement with me and the city, but I don't think it's appropriate to withhold funds for constituents' roads just to make a point, and that's what's going on, to the tune of probably by now over $600,000, and by January, $730,000. I want this to be resolved. The commission has a fight on their hands concerning the landfill. I've pledged to support this effort, and I'll continue to support that. But that's where I stand on this issue tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Bliss. Anyone else from the council? All right, having heard none, we'll go ahead and move on to our next portion of the agenda. This is the good and welfare. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone of the framework for this segment. Each speaker is requested to step forward, clearly state their name and address, and will be allotted 3 minutes to present their statement. Please note this is not a session for dialogue or debate with the council, nor is it a period for questions and answers. It is a time for you to make your voice heard, for us to listen, and your statements to be entered into the public record. We ask that all remarks be kept respectful and pertinent to community manners. So now we'll go ahead and open up the floor, and whoever would like to step up to the microphone, go ahead and step on up.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Josh Nelson. My address is 2985 Deer Ridge Drive. I do live in the county of Sedalia, but I think most of you all know me. I'm speaking on behalf of Sedalia Local 103, which we have a lot of support here. I just wanted to step up and say thank you all for voting for additional personnel. It's something that we have needed for over 100 years. And I'm hoping, and I think most of us as well, is that this is just the beginning. This is the first step in continuing moving public safety forward with the expansion of the fire department. That's all I got. Just wanted to say thank you all. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I got one more.
Hi guys, Corey City, 1804 South Park. Please open up the city trash service to the free market. Citizens are constantly waiting for better service while paying more and receiving worse service. By design, a public service has no responsibility or obligation to do a good job if they're given a monopoly. There's no accountability for poor service and no recourse for continued failure. By law, maybe not directly, but indirectly, I'm obligated to continue paying for a service I don't want. So imagine if the city put that same stipulation on school choice or healthcare choice. You know, the city offers one of those, but a citizen can use whatever they want. And really, it's pretty obvious from the poor service I receive and all the stuff I see on social media that this is a task the city can't currently accomplish to a satisfactory degree. So open up the market and ease the burden on the citizens and the city trash service. If there's fewer customers for the city to take care of, it'd be easier for them to do. A quick moment on open records, just a paragraph from the Secretary of State. All communications are records. The function and content of the message will determine if its retention period. A record is defined as any document, book, paper, photograph, map, sound recording, or other material, regardless of physical form or characteristic, made or received pursuant to law or in connection with the transaction of official business. So text messages received on your personal phone, emails on your personal email, messages on your personal Facebook. If they're from a citizen inquiring about something to do with the city, that's a public record. That's something you've heard, that's something that you're going to hopefully have in your mind when you're making future decisions about whether it be trash service or public works or whatever it may be. So by not doing that, and by actively not filling requests, by actively trying to subvert the system and not fill requests because you think a citizen will then ask for more, that's the direct opposite of what the law is about. Lastly, on the road tax, just ask tax. Be done with it. Stop fighting about the money. We're not using it on the roads anyway, so just be done with the tax. Stop fighting about it. Maybe the council can put it on the ballot and get that half cent from Sedalia residents if we feel like paying for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Setti. Up next, come on up.
Hello, David Goodson, 1640 Hedge Apple Drive. Excuse me, wrong address. Steve, regarding the city-county issue, why did this all start? It started because the city, after all of these years, wanted to impose these restrictions and code and all this on the county buildings. We never had this issue until just recently. It was not an issue. And was the applications filled out properly for the grant? And how'd the mayor's meeting go, Calvin? Mayor Rawson, was you even there at the mayor's meeting with Lamont, Green Ridge, all the other cities? That wasn't a really great meeting, I don't think. You guys could squash this. I've been asking for you to stop it forever. Leave the county alone. Are we really safer because we inspected a jail? All of this to inspect the jail? I'm sure Sheriff Andrews and the chief could have worked out something to make sure there's this evacuation plan. We're not that much safer of a community for it. You guys push public safety most of the time when it's on somebody else's dime, not on your own. You do it to every business in town, you're getting crazy with it. And it's killing development, it's hurting business, it's gotta stop. And Steve, like you talk about, you might have the power to stop this from getting passed in the, when it comes up for renewal. There's 4 of you up for re-election. You guys might not be re-elected to be here in that position to push that. Because we've asked all of you to do your job. We've asked every single one of you, councilmen. Everybody but Mrs. Foster will meet with us. I represent a group of business owners and concerned citizens and stakeholders in the community. We've talked to you all. Every one of you say, oh, we've got to make change. We've got to do something. We see nothing happen at all. To me, that's a failure to do your elected duty. So we are working to take care of that, find candidates that want to step up and do the right thing for our community and have the guts to do what's right, even when it goes against the yes, 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 yes vote that we see time and time again up here. Never a dissenting vote. But you guys could stop this with the county. You could stop it tomorrow, and everybody be better off for it. And it'd be that easy. But using crime, public safety all the time is getting old. We're all tired of it. So please do your jobs and patch it with the county and be done with it. And one more thing. My company's on a bad contractor list with the city. My company has an impeccable reputation throughout the United States. We work for very high-profile jobs. We do a great job. Over 70% of our business every year is repeat business. But you all have created a list of bad contractors, and I'm on it. I want to know who created the list. We will be requesting that. It's completely wrong. You have no issues with any work my company's done in this community, ever. Not one time. And we're on that list. I have an idea where it came from, but it's wrong. You supply it to new inspectors and you put it out there. It's downright disturbing. And you all should be ashamed of yourselves. That's all I got.
Hey, David, I do want to say one thing. I'll be here Wednesday at noon. If you want to come down, we'll go back and forth.
We can go up and get the list. I'd love to see it.
Well, let's do it Wednesday with everybody here. That's what we're going to, I'll do it Wednesday. It's not, we can't do it right now.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Birdsall. I live at 22527 US 65. I want to thank you all for your service. I came here tonight to see how the city council works and see how the local government works. My concerns are basically the homeless and how they're treated in this town. Okay, I've been homeless. Okay, I'm 18 years old, cocaine and heroin. I've been redeemed by the blood of Christ. And that's the only reason why I am here today. I see that, and I know it's hard for the police if they have to pick somebody up and put them to jail, and what happens after that? What do? We have open door, embassy, other things like that. But all of us have somebody in our lives that could use the help. And I'm not here to ask questions. I just want you to think about how you're going to help them. Okay? It's not easy for a man that lived on the wrong side of the law his entire life to come up here in front of you. But I have no shame in what I've done. I own everything that I've done, as we all have to as men and women. So I encourage you to find your hearts, to start the dialogue among yourselves and how you can help people. It's more than just throwing them in jail. There has to be aftercare. You have to care about our community so that we have a community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Debbie Covington, 2601 East 12th. I was at an event this past weekend, and someone approached me about residents putting items in their yard to give away for free. One citizen put a sign on their item that was for free, and in this case, the city picked up the item, sent them a bill, it was $80. This happened to 2 different people that has approached me lately, and I just want to understand why it's a thing. Why send unnecessary bills to citizens, much less with no communication? Also, speaking of communication, I recently had a good discussion with Mr. Bliss, and we talked about the need for transparency from our city government and why these ordinances pass so fluid during these council meetings. And he told me the public needs to come to the city council committee meetings to know what's going on in the city council meetings, so I made it a point to try to make it to as many of these city committee meetings as I could. That being said, I came to a public works meeting last week, and I was here at 3:28, it was supposed to be at 3:30. It was apparently canceled. They said it was for lack of quorum. The public wasn't notified of the cancellation. Why? Again, we asked to be notified about all meetings and cancellations. How can we stay informed if we're not informed? Streaming the meetings, making it possible for the community to be more involved. Our mayor obviously sees this as a need. He used to stream on Facebook all the time. I'm asking for these meetings to be streamed on your website, Facebook, YouTube. I can't reiterate the need for transparency enough. I have more requests. I'm running low on time. Steve took 5.5 minutes again tonight. I'm glad you narrowed that down from 20 minutes, but here I am rushing, only have a minute left. We're asking for more time as well. I asked for a 6-month freeze on code enforcement citations, work with the citizens, provide them with resources to get up to code, provide them with a list of contractors. If finances are a factor, provide them with organizations to help in that regard too. I asked for a 12-month freeze on demolitions and city limits. I asked for updates and changes in regard to the Paul Broom grant. I repeat, Mayor, you saw the need for streaming on Facebook. I asked to please consider streaming, live streaming. As far as coming Wednesday, I would come again Wednesday, Steve, if the rest of the council members we're gonna be here. And as far as public safety goes, I think I'm reiterating what everybody else has already talked about. With our roads and infrastructure the way it is, I think using public safety as an excuse is, I agree, stay home. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Renee Vance, Box 691, Sedalia. I come to you tonight as a candidate for Pettis County. I've been asked why I'm running. Why would anybody want to run for a political office when the climate is pretty hateful? And obviously it's not on my side always. I was told by one of our clients that the church was telling them that Democrats aren't Christian. And I can assure you, I am, so that qualifier should not be a problem. I do believe that our representatives need to be taking care of women and senior citizens, our education, and obviously the hate-filled drama that comes out of the LGBTQ has got to stop. I think I'm the best choice for Pettis County because I do represent more of our constituents, more of the wonderful cornucopia that we have of people that reside in Sedalia and Pettis County. I would greatly appreciate your vote and your support, as I am a politician wannabe, but I don't want to have all the hate stuff. I want a common sense approach, and let's get back to civility. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vance. Anyone else? Not seeing any, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to move to closed door session.
Motion to move to closed door session for legal advice, real estate, and negotiated contracts.
I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Robinson.
Yes.
Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Hiller.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Bliss.
Yep.